Ford is joining powers with Tesla. Literally, because Ford vehicles will be granted access to Tesla Superchargers starting early next year. Only in the US and Canada though, so if you're over here in the EU, well, then just leave. So great news for owners of Ford's EVs because Tesla does have pretty much the most extensive and well-developed charging network. The only question is whether or not the charging infrastructure will be able to handle the extra strain on its network, and whether or not you'll follow this channel. Also, hopefully someday all EVs and charging stations will have the same connectors and be cross-compatible because that would just make sense. Welcome back to the channel. So Ford and Tesla are joining powers, and Ford will be granted access to Tesla Supercharger network, which is great news for everybody that owns a Ford electric vehicle. But sort of sadly, this is good news because in an ideal world, every single electric vehicle would be able to use every single electric charging station because that would just make so much sense, be more convenient. I mean, imagine if you could only fuel up your normal gas vehicle in only certain gas stations. Like, that would be pretty weird, pretty confusing. Like, why are you making life like more difficult for your consumers? And the thing is, well, I personally do not own an electric vehicle, so I don't know exactly what the state of the current charging network is in US, Canada, or in Europe. However, when I watch videos, a lot of people complain about how these chargers are unreliable because a lot of the time you will arrive at the charging station and it will just either not work at all because there just won't be enough energy, or your car will just charge way slower, which is a big inconvenience because if you're planning to make a stop at a certain location for like an hour while you charge up your electric vehicle and that ends up taking like 3 hours because the charging was just a lot slower because there was just not enough supply of electricity. I mean, that's very inconvenient. And although Tesla Superchargers, I think, are known as the most reliable chargers, this will of course put extra strain on their network, so hopefully they will be able to handle it so the current users won't, be pissed off. Now, a little bit of a concerning thing that I have read down here is how Ford discussed that they believe almost no money will be made in selling cars and that the value will come from reoccurring services opportunities. So I was like, what? Subscriptions? Like, where is this gonna come in? So I did a little bit more research, and for instance, with Tesla, I didn't know this was a thing. So if you have a full self-driving enabled Tesla, you have to pay a subscription to actually use it, which is something that I didn't know was a thing. I just thought you needed to pay extra to have the capability with your car to have self-driving. I didn't know that you now needed a subscription. So what I suspect happened is probably at the start when I was following this full self-driving thing a lot more closely, it was free because Tesla was just collecting data, and after they got enough data and they actually made a product that kind of works, they just started charging a reoccurring subscription fee, yeah, well, now I know. So this really just makes me appreciate my older 2008 year car because it doesn't have sort of bullshit subscriptions like this. I mean, BMW, I think they're doing subscription-based heated seats at this point, which I mean is just like heated seats. Like, that's not even such a big luxury. It's a BMW. Like, shouldn't that be in there by default? And there was a story about the new Mercedes EV where you have to pay a subscription if you want to unlock the full performance of the car. So if you want it to go as fast as it physically can go, you have to pay for a subscription. So yeah, we pretty much don't own anything anymore. We're not gonna own anything. So yeah, I'll just be taking real good care of my car and I'll just be driving it for as long as I can because who knows where the future lies for these sort of vehicles, because yeah, subscription-based services do make a lot of sense. However, most of the users really don't want them. So let me know what you think, and hopefully you have a nice day.